Hello, welcome to the Analytics. My name is Daniel. Today we have a data cleaning project we take a quick run through. So we've got a mail sent to a new analyst that just joined Analytics. Um, it's a data consisting of an attachment of a data from one of our clients. So the client has requested that we put this data into proper shape and structure and possibly assess the quality of the data. And The task is to automate the data cleaning and have this data in proper rows and column. Yeah, so the client has requested us cleaning this data, have it in proper shape, and then there's the other part of it that has to do with data quality assessment. We may not be able to look at that in this video or in the subsequent one. So this is to prepare this ahead for the meeting we have with the client 19th of December 2022. So what we'll be doing is we'll take a quick run through to see how we can have this data clean and automated in Excel. Um, you can use any other tool wherever you are, maybe Power BI or SQL, whichever way. So you can get this data from this link provided there. I'll have this link in the bio for you to download in case you want to get your hand dirty on the data or you want to follow through as we solve this. So let's take a look at the dirty data, how it looks, and then we proceed from there to see how we can clean this and automate it in Power Query. Alright, so if I come to the tab where I have dirty data, you can see the data here. I'm having segment consumer blank, blank, blank. So obviously this data, uh, this column, this row we are looking at here, we can't really tell whether it is the header column because the header column cannot really look like this. So what is going on? So and that is what we basically need to assess. Another thing you look at is the second row as well is having shipment mode as the first one. Then we are seeing first class, same day, and the likes. So and on the rows I have order ID. This seems to look like the order ID, as well as the segment is consumer, maybe corporate, and maybe home office. The shipment, first class, same day, second class, standard, you see it repeated also, but the repetition are under each segment as I can tell from here. So when we look at consumer, it has this segment, then we have total. Can you see total for consumer? Then when we look at corporate, we have this also. When we look at that, then we see corporate total, then we have home office, we have all this ship mode, and then we have the home office total as well. And so then we have the other ID. So if I look at it from here, look at this other ID now. Now from this other ID, this is blank, this is blank, this is blank, this is blank, this is blank. Is blank up to, oh, can you see? So this is more like this particular order. From my understanding, this particular order ID, the buyer bought or the customer bought a standard class. Bought have a total amount of 921. We don't know what the the currency is, or since it's sales, we don't know whether it is pounds, whether it is dollars, whichever one. So here I have the home office, so I can tell that this particular product is under home office category, and the clients opted for standard class. So as we can see, and if you see the home office total here is 910, so it means that the rows are being summed up to give us the total for each of the segments that we have. All right, so and then so this seems to look like a pivot table. um let's scroll down to see if we have grand total or anything related. Oh, see, underneath we're having grand total, so this already confirms to me that what we are having here is a pivot table. So that is to tell us that the data we are expecting from our clients is coming in this form. Why do we need to automate this? Why can't I do this in Excel, normal Excel, maybe whichever way? One of the reason is could be that possibly this type of data is coming from maybe hundreds of different, imagine, or 50 or even 20 or five different Excel sheets. and you can imagine having to do it with hand one by one. Maybe if it's something that you be providing daily report from, I mean doing that on daily basis, that is going to be stressful. So how do we automate this in Excel such that whenever we get data like this, as it pass through Power Query, we get the clean data. So this is the dirty data. We are going to move from here to cleaning it. So what do we do? I'm going to convert this to a table. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to select all. Yep, I'll convert it to a table. Yeah, my table does not have header. Okay, since we don't have an header for it, so let's just leave it like this. And then from here, the next thing I'm going to do is go to the data tab at the top. As you can see my cursor, the data tab, and come to get and transform data group. Under the get and transform data group, you will see here from table. So we want to get this data from this table. So you see there is get data from CSV file, get data from picture, get data from web, get data from recent sources, get data from an existing data connection, or whichever one. But this case we are looking at get data from table. So this is a table or a range of cells. So we are getting our own data. So you can see that particular table we created in Excel, that we saw in Excel. This is it here. So um, you can see in the apply steps that Power Query automatically help us to convert the to change the data types, but we don't need this step because the column at itself is not in the proper shape. So let's remove that step. So we still have what we have here. So the next thing that we want to look at, don't forget I said that this is a pivot table from the look of things where this data is coming from. It's more like they have a pivot table to actually look at it. And what we want to do here is to have it, we want to more like create the table they use to generate the pivot table. And how do we get that? One of the ways to get that is let's look at first how many column is likely to be in that table from which this pivot table was generated from. Number one, I can see order ID. So I would say that order ID is one of the columns. I'm seeing segment. Segment will be another column. Ship mode will be another column. And then I'm seeing sales price here. I don't know whether it is in pounds or dollars, whichever currency it is. So I can see four different columns here, um, from what where this data is created from. How did I get to know this? Is if you are working with pivot table, you'll be able to tell. And our aim now would now be to have these four tables created from what we have here. This is absolute mess. I will try to unclutter this data to get the clean data for our client ahead of Monday, when our senior analyst will have this presented to the client. So what is the first thing we want to do? So the first thing we want to do is we want to transpose this data. Transposing this data in the sense that as you can see, ship mode is not supposed to be in rows, it's supposed to be in columns. So we are transposing simply because we want to get these two rows here, we want to get them to become columns, and that's the reason why we are transposing. So when we transpose this particular table, automatically it should give us the segment as a column, the ship mode as a column, and this other ID that are showing as rows, they will now become the column as well. So let's do that. So how do you get transpose in Power Query? Go to transform tab at the top, and then in the table group you will see transpose. Just click on transpose. Okay, can you see? So we've added transpose table and an additional step. These are first step. aside from the source where the data is coming from. So from here now, the next thing we need to do is let's do. So you notice that here we're having segments, consumer, we have blank, 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 consumer total, corporate, we have blank, 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 corporate total. So don't forget what I was explaining where we're in the Excel, such that consumer under segment, I can tell that this is a pivot table, and on this pivot table, we have order ID as the row on the row field, and we're having two field value on the column in your pivot table. So I can say that we have consumer segment there, but you know, first class, same day, second class, standard class, they are still under this particular consumer. That is why this is blank. Before we have the subtotal, which is column subtotal here, which is consumer total. Then we move to corporate, like I explained earlier. So that is why we are having this here. So I can equally say that this is consumer, this is consumer, this is consumer, this is corporate, this is corporate, this is corporate as well, and so on like that. So the next thing we need to do is basically to um, fill down this. So you cannot be doing this one by one. Okay, you cannot do this one by one. And so what you need to do is just right click on this column and you will see fill. In Power Query you can either do fill up or fill down, but in our case we are doing fill down. And did you see? So you notice that Power Query helps us to fill this down, and then from here we'll move to so the next thing. So what is the next thing you notice from here? You notice that this is actually how we want to have this column, except for the fact that we don't want this consumer total, and we are not interested in corporate total and office total, because these ones were generated from Power Pivot, from pivot table rather. So we are not interested in them, anything total. So I'll come here and I'll go to, I could have select them here, but the reason why I don't want to select it here is because when we are dealing with thousands of rows of data, this is not efficient, because Power Query may not be able to load everything. So I'll come to text filter, and I'm going to filter on does not contain. I want it to give me rows that does not contain total. Total. So I'll click OK. So can you see now that that is no longer part of this data? Now from this now, it looks like what I'm looking for is already here. And how do I mean? So if you look at it from here, I can easily tell that this is my segment, this is my ship mode. I have other ideas. So the next thing I need to do is I want to promote my header. So as I've promoted my header now, shipment mode, how do I get all these other ID to become column? Is very, very simple. To become just just two column. One column for this other ID and the other column for the values that exist in these other IDs. What are those values? The cost or the total price of this particular sales. So what I'm going to do is we are going to select this column and select this column as well. And as we have done this now, these other columns can be unpivoted. Unpivoting it means that we are converting multiple rows, multiple columns into just two columns. One for the attribute, that is the header here, and the other one for the values they are carrying. So as I've highlighted this, come to transform tab as well. Under any column, you will see unpivot column. Click on this drop down button and then you will see unpivot columns. Don't choose this, unpivot orders. So if we select unpivot order, what does that mean? Don't forget we've selected just segment column and shipment mode. We are now saying that unpivot every other column aside this. So, and which means order ID and so on like that will be unpivoted. So let's click on that. Okay, can you see? So from here now we can tell that. So what do you notice? You notice that um we have our table unpivoted already. We have our table unpivoted already. So from here now, I can say that this is my order ID. So we can rename this column and say this is um, order ID. I can say that this is total sales. It looks like what we are looking for, right? Yeah, but that's not the end. Ask me why I'm saying that is not the end. If we look at this data very well, remember we're getting totals. We're getting totals. So if we look at this order ID very well, you may not be able to see it here. There is a place where we're getting grand total at the end. So if I filter on this and I look at contains grand, see, can you see all these grand totals that we had at the bottom of that column is something that we could have removed at the beginning, but I didn't want us to remove it, so you are careful, extra careful, so that when you are dealing with this. So if you look at this now, we are having grand total. However, these grand totals are not needed. So if we had left this now, our order ID will not be correct, and all these values will be additional value adding to our total sales if we are doing our analysis, and this would affect a lot of things. Okay, so what do we do? So I'm going to cancel this step. So what we do is we come here and we filter out anything that has to do with does not contain grand at all, anything grand. So I'll just say grand. Can you see? Voila. And then we have this corrected. So from here now, the next thing we just need to do is to convert these columns into the right data type. So this should be in currency. I'm just assuming that it's in dollars. Then this is in text. This is correct. This is correct. So this is our correct clean table. I can rename this query here. I'll call it clean data. All right. So this is our clean data. Some other people will want to convert this to divide this order ID into country, year, and then the order ID. But we'll not be doing this in this case, as this should be the proper way. And then you can decide if you want to break it down. It's very easy as well. So we'll just stop this project from here. Thank you. Let's load it into our Excel file. Okay. So as you can see, it's been loaded into our Excel file. So from what we can tell, the data provided contains three columns, four columns and 822 rows. Four columns and 822 rows. Four columns and 822 rows. Thank you. Bye.